Yeah. Good morning to all of our Merry Marvelites. That's right. Here we are for another fun-filled afternoon, morning, wherever you are. It is indeed time for some. Now you can see down there in her little rectangle, Rachel Radner has the original graphic novel, God Loves Man Kills, which the extended cut, the second issue, just came out yesterday, but it's a much larger, really nice paper. I love that story, and if you saw what was at least our final episode before the hiatus of Marvel Movie News, we talked to Chris Claremont for about an hour and a half, largely about that. But when you talk to Chris, you end up talking about a lot of other things, including the New Mutants, which we're going to talk about today. So I've introduced Rachel, and then, of course, with us, as usual, the one and only Michael X. Shirley.
Yeah.
So the DC fans had a lot to be excited about over this weekend. They had their fandom. Yeah. They had to think about all the stuff they're going to get to see eventually. Here's what we have that's better. We have a movie that we can go see. In some places, you can go see it tonight. There are people from LA who are tweeting about how they're taking a road trip to Vegas to see it tonight at 7 p.m. for showing in Vegas. If they do that, I hope they make a weekend out of it.
I heard Hubby Joe might be one of those people. Just kidding.
So wait, Hubby Joe might drive to. I was like, well, if Hubby Joe goes, he might as well stay. But Rachel, Rachel and Hubby Joe will be doing what my wife and I will be doing. We'll be at the drive-in tomorrow night. And then here's the interesting thing. This is very Los Angeles specific, but yesterday morning that they're going to have a showing. They're going to have showings throughout the day at the Rose Bowl, where I know people who have gone to events there. They did for your consideration, Emmy screenings and Q&As there as drive-ins. So they're doing it. But here's the fascinating thing about that. They're showing them in the afternoon as well. So there's a 1:30, a 4:30, I think a 7:30 and a 10:30. And look, I know that I might not be the smartest guy around, and science was never my strong suit. But you would think if you're going to see a movie, you would want it to be dark outside. Wouldn't you? Do you think that would be the best way to see a movie?
Yeah, so it's interesting because like the Rose Bowl, they've been doing this for a couple months now. And I have not personally been to see a drive-in movie with them, but they have, whenever I've looked, they've always had those times. But to me, it's like, okay, you're not, and I don't know, maybe it's different, but I just always assume that they specifically wait until sunset for a reason, because that is the optimal time to see a movie on a screen outdoors. So I wouldn't pay to go at 1:30.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But what do you think, Michael? Do you think that they just figure like, well, the sun will hit the Rose Bowl in such a way that you can watch it in the shade next to the Rose Bowl at 1:30? And by the way, Pasadena in August at 1:30 or 4:30, it's very warm. So am I supposed to run my air conditioner the whole time? I mean, that's not very eco-friendly.
Maybe they have a big old fancy plasma screen.
Yeah, I don't know, but I do like that Disney has enough support behind it that they've come up with this arrangement with the Rose Bowl. Because before yesterday morning, I just knew that there were some drive-ins in the greater Los Angeles area where we would be able to see it, and you have to drive like a half hour to be able to see it. And then the big one, the Vineland drive-in, is actually not showing it. They've opted for Bill and Ted 3 on 2 screens. So it's kind of like the old days where not every movie theater, you have to really figure out from the movie listings as to which theater had which movie you wanted to see. What were you going to say, Rachel?
No, just that. It's interesting though, because I I have never had the experience of going up to a drive-in movie and like just finding the tickets there and just, you know, paying and going in. In this world that we live in, my drive-in experience has literally been places like street food cinema where you pay for the ticket online and then you go and you know that you've reserved your spot. So New Mutants will be first. Even Pennsylvania, when I went to drive-in movies, I don't know what it was, but we always paid online first. I know that is not historically what a Pennsylvania drive-in was like, but when I was going, you know, 6-7 years ago, we always paid online first, reserved our spot. So Friday will be hubby Joe and I's first foray into a traditional drive-in movie experience where you literally show up at the door and pay and get in.
Yeah, when I used to go to the drive-in, and as I've talked about, I grew up with one away from where I grew up, and in Warwick, and actually, I think Rock in the chat, I believe, is planning on going to the Warwick Drive-in in Warwick, New York. There was no online, so you'll have to find some of these. I don't know if you remember these. We used to pay for these. You used to have to go in the door, and now if you like get out one of these to pay, they're like, really? But you and hubby Joe will have to hand over one of these.
Or a credit card.
And you'll get 2 tickets. Maybe not a credit card, actually. So make sure you have cash is what I'm trying to tell you. It depends on the drive-in.
Most places aren't taking cash right now with COVID.
I'm letting you know that the drive-in business model may not be plastic friendly.
All right.
Maybe they're all going to have the little squares in the box office. I believe when I went to Mission Tiki, it was cash only. And Michael, I'm sorry, I spoke over you. What were you going to say before?
I was going to say, I think it's really funny that you guys are so excited to see this movie that you're going to literally go on Friday night.
Yes.
I feel bad because I feel like you're going to be kind of doing it.
Well, here's the thing about that. And I was messaging with our friend Zia, who actually was going to make a surprise appearance today. But then the not surprising part is that she didn't make an appearance today because she was too busy with work. The bar is so low for this movie. The bar is non-existent. It just getting to see a new movie, a movie with these characters that I like. We know Lockheed is in this movie. Magic is in this movie. I like all these characters. Yeah, there's a screen grab of Lockheed that I've seen now. I didn't mean to spoil it. I'm sorry. I thought everybody saw that.
No, I actually have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Michael, you're like, look, the one thing that I might have enjoyed, and he just ruined it for me.
I think Ileana will be too.
Yeah, she looks great. I mean, in those trailers that they released in March, back when the movie was going to come out in April. And I think, and I was joking with Zia that like a new movie coming out, and she has talked at great lengths on this show and Marvel Movie News and honestly Marvel TV Weekly, basically anything I've done with her about how much she didn't like Captain Marvel. I got her to admit that she would even be excited if Captain Marvel 2 was coming out tomorrow. She's like, yeah, I would be excited. Just the idea of seeing a new movie. I don't know how great it's going to be. I do like that they tried to do something different, and I'm gonna grade it a curve. But I'll tell you right now, odds are pretty good. I'm probably going to see it. I'm going to probably see it a second time because I think that's the only way Zia will see it is if I like make her. We're talking about possibly going. Yeah. Well, because her husband doesn't want to go. That's really what it comes down to. She really wants to see it, but he's just like, nah. So there's that issue. But anyway, so yeah, I look, I'm driving to Vegas. That and by the way, hubby Joe had a comment before that he went online and he tried to look up the old Mutants to watch before the new Mutants. Can you tell me where to find them? This came up on yesterday. I'll tell you who the old Mutants are. They're the X-Men. So you've seen the old Mutants. These are the new Mutants. So and then the new Mutants are Michael's favorite. The new Mutants are Michael's favorite Generation X.
Yeah.
Those are the newer mutants, I suppose.
Here's my thing. I'm excited for the movie, but I think more because I really like Maisie Williams as an actress. So I want to see her in a different role outside of Arya Stark. and I just really want to see what she does with it. And I really, like you were saying, Christian, I don't really have too many expectations. I love the X-Men. I think it's going to be really hard. I'm not comparing them to the X-Men because they're just different, but I think it's going to be really hard for this to, sit with me the way that the Avengers or the X-Men sit with me, because there's just certain characters that are some of my favorite from those groups. So I'm not expecting this to be anything that I absolutely love, but I'm really excited to go and see a new Marvel movie in theaters, even if it's a drive-in, which I love drive-ins anyway, so I'm not complaining. It's not only a Marvel movie, it's a Marvel horror movie, and I love seeing horror movies in drive-in.
Is it though?
I think it is. I think it definitely is.
I know it was supposed to be a horror movie. I don't know what it is now, though.
I think it is.
Well,
I mean,
they ended up not doing reshoots. They didn't want to spend the money on it. So this is Josh Boone's movie. This is the movie he made like 2 years ago. So I think it's as close to a horror movie as you can get.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of downplaying that from my wife, who hates horror movies, actually. So
movie.
Harvey Joe doesn't like horror movies either, so let's keep that on the down low, even though he's in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, he is in the chat though. Going back to currency, Kame Egan points out that we should pay with change because of the shortage. I probably have $10 in change that I could pay with.
I mean, we have cash, but the thing is that right now with COVID, I mean, I've not gone to a drive-in where, the traditional drive-in yet. I'm just going to have cash and a card on me just in case, because with COVID, most places don't want to take physical cash. So
here's the interesting thing was I was reading an AP. They take cash at Taco Bell. Yeah, I mean that's their business model.
Okay.
Look,
they need to pay with exact change.
Yeah, let's just say that not everyone is automatically approved for a credit card. And I'm not casting any aspersions. No, and I think there are a lot of places that actually have to to be serious. For socioeconomic reasons, you have to accept cash, but you prefer not. And I actually did pay for something with cash because of the amount that it was. I was like, I'm going to pay with cash, exact change. And then they just kind of rolled their eyes, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I had to get my credit card replaced. I was waiting for a new one. So I think that you just want to be prepared.
What's that?
I had no idea that cash.
What'd you say, Michael? Sorry.
Every place I've gone, like the other day, I went to a pizza restaurant. Like I went to a pizza place, and literally a poor old man, all he had was cash. And they were like, sorry, sir, we're not going to take that. And I guess theoretically the idea is that even if you're paying with exact, that the idea of then taking that cash and then the next person comes in and you have to kind of, with the tender, you have to maybe give them change and you're passing on. I don't know. I don't know the science behind it.
Oh, no, look. Look,
yeah.
Anybody who saw that movie Outbreak understands what can happen when you pass things between people, but they also understand why you shouldn't be going into a movie theater right now as well. So I understand why. It's surprising. So I was reading an AP article about when movie theaters reopened, and they actually went to a theater that was in the suburbs outside of Pittsburgh. Inexplicably, concessions were cash only. They were not accepting. So sometimes there's not rhyme or reason is the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
So we have the option to see this. And by the way, the Rose Bowl deal is kind of interesting for people in Los Angeles. It's $35 a carload. There is a $5 service fee. So for $40, you can try and, if you have a big enough car to socially distance like 6 friends, if you bring them in like mom's minivan or something, you can really make out,
and
well, not literally.
That's cheap considering most of what they've been doing in LA for the ones that you pay online. Usually it's anywhere from 20 to 30 a car, but that's for the car. And then it's $8 to $10 a person. So
are you saying I'm going to pay like $50 to see this stupid movie?
Well, then the drive-in.
No, Michael, you're.
If you go to like,
I don't know if we're. I don't know how much mystery we want there to be, but you're in a place where it's definitely going to be $10 at most to see the movie. You know, it's going to be a car load. They're gonna be happy to just have you pay per person. They're definitely going to take cash where you are. Yeah, and there's some interesting double features actually. There's a theater at one. They have Iron Man as the second one, and the Warwick Drive-In in New York has Deadpool as the second feature. What's the second feature that you would get to see, Michael?
The Peninsula, which is a Korean zombie sequel to Train to Busan.
Oh, I want to see that.
Wow. A night of horror.
That
the first one was really good.
That's a great horror.
Yeah.
I love that. So there's the logistics for how to see it. And there are, of course, it's the only new movie. Actually, it's not the only new movie coming out. Bill and Ted 3 is coming out the same day, but is one of the only movies coming out. So you can't have a little bit of controversy around it. The first is that some very outlets have publicly announced they will not be reviewing because Disney did not make it available ahead of time as a digital, a screener link, which I guess whatever studio put out that Russell Crowe movie that came out last week on Hinged, that was available that way. So people reviewed that. But, and then they also didn't do, socially distant screenings, but I'm like, yeah, they don't want to bring strangers on Disney lot so you can see this movie. Also, they probably think it's not very good. So they don't want people to see it ahead of time. But they've said that one of them is the AV Club, and I think it's not Entertainment Weekly, but there's a few of them that have all said that they're not going to review this movie because they don't feel like they can do it safely. And what they also said is that the movies that they do review are always at the top, that they're like, it's up to you to decide whether or not you think it's safe to go to the movie theater. But here's an interview we did with two doctors who tell you it's definitely not safe to go to the movie theater. So everybody's trying to cover their bases, but kind of this big picture idea. I wanted to ask you first, Michael, what do you think about saying like, well, if we can't see it safely, parentheses, for free, we don't want to review it. Now they're saying that this happens regularly and you do have to pay sometimes to see a movie on the release day. Because they don't want to have to go to a public movie theater showing, they're not reviewing it. They don't want the liability of freelancers going and writing it for them. So they're just like, we're not going to review this movie. What do you think about this controversy, Michael?
I think if you're passionate enough about that type of this franchise, you should probably be willing to go and pay it, and that would make me value your review even more. I mean, we're gonna go see it in a drive-in.
Yeah, the three of us are all gonna see it at a drive-in, and somebody that works for the AV Club in Los Angeles can't go see it at a drive-in. I mean, it's like they're taking a stand. I don't quite know why. And if you don't want to go into a movie theater, I don't think anybody should go into a movie theater at any point. And those doctors that I mentioned in the AV Club article, they said you really shouldn't. If you do, just don't take your mask off at any time that you're there. Don't eat snacks is basically what they're saying. Well, then exactly. The article actually references that scene in Outbreak that everybody kind of remembers when they sneeze up in the air. Yeah. So. But look, that's what. Look, it's an option. I don't know. What do you think, Rachel? Do you think that this is more like, hey, look at us, we're taking a stand about not reviewing a movie because they didn't make it available ahead of time, or am I looking at this all wrong?
All I can say is that if I was a reporter, I would pay and go and see the movie and report on it if I was a big enough fan and wanted to get the review out there. For the service of the fans. I think that's a bigger deal than trying to say, oh, well, I'm not going to pay for this. I feel like they should just, it's not like, I mean, it's $10 to go to a drive-in movie right now at most of the places. I literally, like, if it were me and I was supposed to be reporting on this, I would just go and pay for it and go see the movie, because I feel like as reporters, like, you should be a fan first of what you might not necessarily like the movie because you haven't seen it yet, but you should theoretically be a Marvel fan that you're going to go see this movie and be the one reporting on it. Otherwise, if you're just going just to see a movie and just to literally, review it for the sake of reviewing it, then you're not doing service to the movie or to the fan base or to Marvel. So I feel like you have to have some understanding and some knowledge. Not that they don't, but
Yeah.
I just feel like the bigger fans are the people who should be the ones reporting on this anyway. And the bigger fans are going to go and pay to see the movie.
Yeah, look, I think it's easy to take a stand against New Mutants and say you're not going to review it, but hypothetically say that Warner Brothers put out Wonder Woman 1984 and they're like, yeah, but it's not going to be available. You're going to have to go see it. Then I think they would be like, well, we're going to need to review the movie because it's so big. And honestly, Tenet is being made available, the Christopher Nolan movie. But if it weren't, I'm like, well, that's such a, like a cinematic with a capital C movie that I feel like they would make an exception a week from now when Tenet first comes out. So I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. Let us know what you think in the chat, everyone, whether you're watching live or you're watching the archive version. Sort of what your thoughts are about it. I know that somebody had commented. Let's see, where was? We have some people at Ghost 8386 grew up near the drive-in in Riverside. So yeah, when you grow up around drive-ins, it seems more normal. You know what I mean? It's not something that's so out of the ordinary for most of us, I would say. But and I guess not everybody has the option. Sorry, I see now that because we're doing this, somebody gave us the angry face. You know how like when you comment, you can give a smiley face? We have one person who has given us an angry face. So I don't know if it's just because they don't like New Mutants, if they don't like us. They probably just, but that's all right. But I'm glad they're watching all the same. So look, I think it's, what's that, Rachel?
Shout out to that person. Round of applause.
Yeah. Whoever took the time to actually put the angry face. I can see it now. I can see it. It's like my face is here and then the angry smiley is right over it, just staring down at me.
We're going to start getting more angry faces.
Yeah, I don't know. I would like somebody to go on Facebook and then send a heart instead, because then that would take away from it. But anyway, so look, there's unfortunately, there's all these angles to it. It's like, do you want to see the movie? Yeah, and a lot of people aren't excited about this movie. But for those of us that are, we're willing to go to the drive-in. And look, they made it a lot here, for people in Los Angeles. And I feel like you're getting the pop-up drive-in in places that don't typically have it. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult to do in, say, like Manhattan, but I feel like they could probably pop up out in some of the outer boroughs. You could do them in places in Brooklyn or Queens. You could, especially in Brooklyn. I mean, you could, who wouldn't want to go to a drive-in down at Cody Island? It's not a drive because like nobody has cars, but an outdoor movie. You can do that. So I think that we'll get a lot of people,
even Long Beach,
a lot of people there. So yeah, right, exactly. So here's the Mike who's on Facebook. I'm the only one watching on Facebook, but I swear, thank you, Mike. That's our friend, a humble painter. Always good to hear from him. Thank you for not sending the hate my way. It's probably whoever sent it did like a little drive-by. Like, I hate that, but I am not watching.
Yeah. New York, you could absolutely.
So we do have somebody. We have somebody. Sorry, the key file says, do you know of any in SoCal, not Riverside? So sort of a very regional explanation, but yes, there's the Paramount in Paramount, which is near Long Beach. That's where you might be able to find Rachel and myself this weekend and our respective spouses cringing in the car because it's a horror movie. But Mission Tiki out in Pomona.
Yes.
And then there are some, I think, in Ventura County, but I don't know all those. I swear there's plenty of them. But if you really want to see this specific movie in Southern California, go to the Rose Bowl. Like, that's the easiest way to see it. It's $35, $40 load. but that's the simplest to see. You don't have to travel as far.
Yeah, and if you're closer to San Diego, there's South Bay. So apparently, Mission Tiki is actually a chain. So yeah, there's a whole bunch. Like they're really, I don't know about if South Bay is showing New Mutants, but if you're in San Diego and you want to just see a drive-in movie, that might be an option.
Yeah. So Key Files, we just pointed you in the direction of go Google it. No, but there's plenty. Like, and they are showing them, and that was something that was a relief, because these movie theaters don't post their schedules until like Wednesday. So I've had weeks of worrying about, like, is this movie going to be in movie theaters? Or are they saving it for? I mean, is it going to be in drive-ins? Or are they saving it for actual movie theaters? You know, so. Yeah, but so I was relieved to see that they're showing it. Sorry, what were you saying, Rachel?
Oh no, I was just gonna say South Bay is showing New Mutants on Friday, 8:30.
Look at that.
And 1:05 p.m. So if anyone would like me to Google anything else about the movies, let me know where you live, and I'll
just let me know. What's your zip code? Post your zip code in the chat, and Rachel will find the nearest drive-in to you. But and I think it was Rock 620 who's going to go to the Warwick Drive-In, which is my old stomping grounds. But anyway, so this is the logistics of. I don't know. I don't know how much some of these outlets really are excited about reviewing this movie. Anyway, got to figure if they think they're not going to like it. I mean, what's a more fun review to write than something you don't like? You know. I thank you to whoever on Facebook has added a heart now, but unfortunately, the heart is next to the angry face, so. It's just a reminder that it's like do the right thing, Raheem, with the love and hate. So there's some of you who love me, some of you hate me, and yes, I am going to take a picture of it.
Don't let the.
What were you saying, Michael?
Don't let the haters get to you.
Yeah. And then Jason Blair points out that Cinemark is showing it there in Austin. He lives in Austin, Texas. And yeah, there are plenty of indoor theaters showing it. We know people. Well, I know of people who are going to Las Vegas to see it. They're probably driving there now. You know, they're gonna go to the Cracker Barrel across the freeway. Then they'll go into the movie theater and get their popcorn, and who knows what'll happen. There's a little bit more of like a real controversy going in there. And our friend Yael Teagle pointed out on Twitter literally before the show, and I had been reading about it, so I was aware of it. But there is some there's a little bit of a controversy associated with the casting of the actor playing Sunspot. Now, in the Roberto DaCosta, who is that Sunspot, he's half black, and his father's black, his mother's white. He's from Brazil, and it's literally, I don't know if it's the first panel he's in, but it's like the first page he's on. Somebody angrily yells at him as being a half breed. So he is half, and so is the actor that they cast to play him, but. I think that there's a little bit of a controversy there in terms of it comes down to a very specific thing, which is that in the comics, his skin was always darker than this actor. And obviously, these are things that we're very sensitive about, rightly so, but particularly they're always heightened when we're having sort of the national conversations we are right now. I don't necessarily know that I don't know. To me, this is a lot different than when you cast Scarlett Johansson to play an Asian character, when you when you do that sort of a thing. So this is a character who has the same background as the actual Sunspot character. And then unfortunately, Josh Boone didn't make it any better by saying that the actor who plays him, Henry, said, he made a comment basically that he portrays the upbringing that he had of sort of this upper class upbringing. I'm going to find the exact quote, which is what I've been struggling to do while I'm talking. So I wanted to represent Brazil in a positive way, and I wanted to find somebody who seems like he could look like a guy who's had the silver spoon in his mouth, who has like a really rich dad, and Henry just exemplified these things. So I guess what he's saying is that this actor looks like he's come from a more wealthy background. I don't think that he said that as well as he could have. Let me ask you first, Rachel, what you think of all of this.
Yeah. So first of all, this is, as you guys might know from X-Men: Days of Future Past, this is not the first time that we're seeing Roberto on the big screen. The first time was Aiden Canto. So I think that this casting choice is more realistic that we're going to see in New Mutants. What I've been reading though about this is that they are still coming under heat for this casting choice because of the fact that traditionally Roberto was an Afro-Brazilian. And so the fact that they cast someone who, what some people are saying, someone who has lighter skin, a lot of people feel like that is Hollywood's way of like whitewashing a character that should have been, a Black character. And so that's what I've been reading. That's more what the controversy is. I feel like in a case like this, at least we do have someone who's Brazilian who's representing the role. I think the casting choice is much better than seeing someone who's white. So I feel like it's a step in the right direction. And I personally am more interested to see how the character's portrayed. And the fact that we have, I'm open to this casting choice. I think it was, it's going to be interesting to see someone who's actually Brazilian playing the role. So I am going to give it a chance and see. But from what I've heard, that's more what the controversy is with their casting choice. And while I understand that perspective, I'm still going to give the actor a chance and see what he brings to the role.
And his name's Henry Zaga. That was another moment where I thought I had the name in front of me, and then I had to look it up. But thank you, Rachel, for one, your thoughts, but also giving me the time to look up his name. Michael, when you hear this sort of thing, so this actor is Brazilian, the character's Brazilian, he is half white, just like the character. Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. What do you think when you hear that people are talking about this in the way that they are?
I have had casting issues with the entire X-Men franchise from the very beginning. So, I mean, and this movie was made, what, like 5 years ago? Before America decided to get a conscience, I guess. So, to me, especially with that ridiculous quote, it sounded like he was just trying to backtrack. I feel like if everything we're more close to the comics. Like, you've got such amazing stories, costumes, characters. Like, they were a success for a reason. Like, you've got this amazing groundwork, and I get, like, oh, there's something to be said to add, like an element of surprise. But everyone's trying to, like, do their own thing with, like, all these movies, and I don't know. It just seems like it's good that this Fox X-Men franchise has come to an end. We can get like a new start. Hopefully, they'll stick more closely with comics. I think that's what the true comic book fans want to see. Like, they want to see their favorite stories on the big screen, not like what some big Hollywood director thinks would be a good X-Men story. I don't know. I just say, forget it. This movie was made like forever ago. Let's hope they do better.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is interesting because a lot of times we say, you shouldn't use 2020 standards to evaluate a movie from like 1980 or 1985. Well, in a lot of ways, New Mutants movie might as well be from 1985 because it was filmed so long ago and that it's only finally coming out. I mean, look, the world was a very different place in 2017. I don't even think we would recognize that world. How many of you owned a face mask in 2017? I'll just leave it there. Some interesting comments in the chat from the Key Files, who he points out in a subsequent comment that Rachel's like, I have plenty of face masks.
We had 50.
But I wanted to bring in. You had a box 50.
We had a box of 50 that
Wow.
Joe had from, his sister was sick at some point, so we just had them laying around.
What
So
did she have?
Okay, so yeah. But,
I don't even remember, but it was infectious, so she.
yeah. Well, to be fair, I do know people who live in, people I do know that have had them in places where there have been wildfires in California. So you certainly can. The Key Files points out in a subsequent post that he mentions that he's black, but he says, I'm seeing black Twitter. It's mostly women. I don't know that he means that part of it, but talking bad about, he lists two actresses whose names I'm not going to butcher, saying they turned down roles in Black Panther because they thought darker actors, and he gets that they are Africans, not mixed. So this is something that comes up, and I don't know. I mean, look, I certainly don't feel as though I'm. First of all, I don't think anybody should tell anybody how they feel about these things. It's just the way that all I can talk about is the way that I look at it. And when I saw the cast of the New Mutants, I was like, okay, they look like the New Mutants to me. And that's the creepy older brother from Stranger Things. Like that was really the only thoughts that I had. I didn't think about that he didn't look, to me, he looks like Sunspot, but obviously other people might feel differently. But I think seeing the performance, that should go a long way,
Yeah.
That should go a long way as to seeing whether or not it was good casting. So,
and that's what I'm waiting on.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's what I'm waiting on. I think that do I wish they would have cast someone else who maybe ethnically fit the role better because of the fact that we need to have more diversity in film? Yes, I do wish that. But given the fact that the movie has already been shot and I'm just going to give the actor a chance, and I'm just going to see how the movie plays out. And I'm going to try and just, hope for a brighter future wherein, we do make better casting choices where it's more ethnically diverse. But the movie's already out, so I'm going to give it a chance for what it is and just see how they play out as the characters.
Yeah, I hope to see everything. And look, the other thing interestingly, when they had that Comic-Con panel about New Mutants, they really downplayed what they referred to, basically the what was it that they tried to? Oh, they tried to downplay the what they referred to just as a friendship between Rain, who's Wolfsbane, and Danny, who's Mirage, but it's warranted from people who are familiar with the movie that they do have a relationship together. And I guess Disney wants to downplay that, but in terms of marketing it, but it does seem to be that we have this same-sex relationship in the film, which I think you've seen on the most notably in The Runaways. We got that, but we haven't really gotten much of that on the big screen. So I think that there are, to say that the film isn't representative and it's not inclusionary, I think it's good to say next week when we've seen it as to what it does. But I don't know. To me, I feel like there were some good efforts with the casting. I think that they are trying to tell some different kinds of interpersonal relationships. But what it all comes down to, Michael, are you just most excited to see the dragon?
Yes, I want to see Anya Joy-Taylor and Aziliana, and I want to see the dragon. I mean, it would be nice if we saw Kitty too, but I'm sure that's not going to happen. But they talk about Colossus apparently in this movie, I hear. So wouldn't be too crazy if Kitty was there to get Lockheed. But also, I'm really confused about Wolfsbane. Are they whitewashing her too? Like, I want her to be a werewolf. I haven't yet seen, like, of her as a werewolf. Like, are they just trying to make her pretty? I've seen her with like some hair on her face. but like as much as mine.
Yes. Well, we all know that Michael is also a werewolf. You're just not fully transformed at the moment. But I do know what you're saying. Yeah, I wonder, is she equal? Yeah.
Did you say sequel?
No. I did not say sequel. They obviously, Josh Boone had hoped there would be a sequel 3 years ago, but I don't think anybody thinks there's a sequel. I'm saying I hope that she goes full werewolf in this movie, and then we actually get to see it because, I mean, that's a really cool part of the character. I like that. Our friend Kame Egan joins in and says, I think there should be diversity within the film, and I agree with Rachel. People should give the actors a chance to see how well they portray that character. Yeah, I mean, I also, to qualify that, I understand the consideration that you sometimes get where, you do try to figure out who the best person is for the role, but you cast maybe a very specific net for it. I mean, I think that, look, when they were casting T'Challa, they knew what they were looking for. I mean, Chadwick Boseman was perfect, so that's sort of a thing. But I am interested in finding out how many people in the chat, again, whether you're watching live or the archive, are actually going to see this this weekend. What were you going to say, Michael?
That's totally different. That's not Fox. That's Disney.
Yeah, that's definitely not Fox. Yeah, Disney is very different. So I do, and we're going to talk more about this next week. I think that the way it's shaping up, it looks like we're going to do 2 shows next week. I do want to do one on Tuesday where we talk about the movie, and then we'll do another one on Thursday at the same time. So you should be able to see us Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific and Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific. And then, we'll probably take a week or 2 off just to make up for the double duty. But once we've seen New Mutants, Michael,
we work so hard.
Yeah, exactly. I know, working 2 hours a week instead of 1, it's exhausting. But once we've seen this movie, I don't know what else we have to talk about for a little while. But we do have one thing that's kind of funny. And Rachel, I just was sent one of these from our friend Colt Badeau, who manages our Marvel News PTN Twitter up there in the Starjammer. Apparently, they have adjusted the title for the upcoming Marvel release. It is no longer called The Eternals. It is just called Eternals. They've taken the out of it.
So me and Christian were talking about this. When earlier this week, I guess last week now, The Eternals, the comic book, released a trailer. And so I clicked, I didn't think it was a trailer for the movie, but I clicked on it. It did not specify, you had to kind of look a little bit to see, this is for the comic. But, I'm watching and it's showing the trailer for the upcoming Eternals comic. Well, the interesting thing wasn't so much the trailer, but it was the comments underneath the trailer with all the fans saying, pretty sure people just clicked on this to see the new Eternals movie trailer. And it was really funny. All the people who just literally showed up because they thought it was the Eternals movie trailer. And, it was Marvel, sorry to disappoint, but not what you were thinking it is.
I hate when...
And meanwhile, I'm... You hate what, Michael?
When Marvel does these, comic book trailers. What is it, what do they use, Pro Tools or something? It's, what is it called? Is that what it's called?
You could use Pro Tools.
Yeah. It was literally just
easy to me.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm probably in the minority. I'm excited that there's going to be a new Eternals series. And Kame Egan in the chat says that has to admit was one of those people who thought the movie trailer. When I first saw that there was this link, I thought it was too. But then before I even clicked on it, I saw the articles about how annoyed people were. So we'll get our trailer for that eventually. But I think that this will be a very interesting couple of weeks in terms of movie going and what the public thinks. Obviously we're excited about seeing New Mutants, but what is the reaction to that? What becomes the reaction to, and what happens to movies that are supposed to come out in October and November? I mean, James Bond's still on the books for November. Black Widow's still on the books for November. I know that the Wonder Woman trailer they had at DC Fandom just said only in theaters, and it didn't say October 6th anymore. So I don't quite know what we're going to get, but as I said, that there are movies that will. Movie theaters could not be open in big cities like New York and Los Angeles for 5 years, and Wonder Woman will still not show up as a digital release first. You know what I mean? There are movies that are like, no, we will wait for James Bond. You'll get it eventually, and that's what I've always said about Black Widow. So it'll be very interesting to see the business side of it. And Michael, movie theaters are, I assume, open where you are, but you're more of a drive-in kind of guy anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, no, I mean, this will only be the second time I've been to a drive-in in my life. But
right. But see, you could see this movie. You could see New Mutants in a theater, but you're choosing to see it at the drive-in because you don't want to. You don't want to go into the theater, I assume.
No, I don't. Yeah, I could see it like a
and
movie goer.
Yeah, no, look, and I don't fault anybody who doesn't go, and people who are comfortable go. I think I said this a few weeks ago. I'm just jealous because I don't even have the option. I don't get to choose if I want, because the movie theaters aren't open here, and I think they will be for a while. But at the end of the day, I'd probably still. I don't know. That's the thing. Here's the thing. I know that my wife wouldn't be comfortable with it, and because I have 2 small kids, I would just still go to the drive-in. But if I think I said this last week, if I were single and I didn't have other people to worry about, I would probably be inclined to try. But that's not the world we live in. That's in a different Spider-Verse where I could go to a movie theater. So I'm perfectly comfortable with the drive-in. As I said, I grew up going to the drive-in. I like the drive-in. I think it'll be fun. I think this will be a good movie for the drive-in. Basically, there's no other option for us, Rachel, other than, of course, driving to Vegas, which I guess Hubby Joe is on the 50 right now, posting comments in the chat.
He totally is. No. We might, hey, I would, he and I might be inclined to drive to Las Vegas at some point to see a movie. I'm going to be out there in November anyway, so I would not personally be against it, but I also don't have little kids, and we're also never really around people, so it's not like
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, those were, it's funny. There's a lot of buzz about New Mutants. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. But the fact is that the movie's actually going to come out. And what's that, Michael?
Is there though?
Is there good buzz? No, not really. Most of the buzz is bad. You're right.
Buzz. Is there buzz?
On my Twitter, yes, but maybe that's because of the people that I choose to follow.
Yeah,
they're like our friend Coy Jandro, who did Marvel Movie News for a long time. He posted that he's going. So there's a lot of people in Los Angeles who, once that Rose Bowl thing happened, Jeff Williams Jr. from AfterBuzz, who's been on this show as a guest, a lot of people who are suddenly posting that they're going to go see it, but also, I guess because they don't want to see Bill and Ted 3 this weekend, which I also want to see, by the way. But if I really want to see Bill and Ted, I can watch it at home. So there's the difference there. But anyway, we do appreciate everybody who's been in the live chat. And, there's a conversation about these comic book crossover, comic book trailers. And you can definitely find those. So thank you. Did you have a final thought there, Rachel?
Oh, I was just going to say, I appreciate everyone too, even Mr. Angry, who's anonymous.
That angry face is still looking at me too. It's very jarring. Michael, Rachel held up her "God Loves Man Kills." I know you have a comic there. That's one of my favorite covers. If you want to hold it up and show the audience, I didn't bring any comics downstairs today, but one of our next shows maybe I will. But go ahead and show off what is one of my favorite X-Men covers because it's one of my favorite Kitty Pryde covers.
Yeah, it's just like a running theme of kitty comics lately.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've been sitting around in the house reading comics, so I'll just keep ordering them.
Yeah. And that's the point where they're still really trying to figure out this look because she had some really bad costumes, including in God Loves Man Kills. This one's good. I like this one a lot. I mean, it's just the New Mutants costume is all that it is, you know. Oh, and then of course another favorite, Excalibur #1.
One, yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
I loved Excalibur.
I got a bunch of the new Excalibur comics that just came out, so it sparked me to start reading some of the old ones.
Go back to the classics. The what was it? The Cross Time Caper that went on for like 2 full years or something. But anyway, we will have so much to talk about next Tuesday when we do a special Tuesday edition of the show at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, because we will have seen New Mutants. And then we'll be back again on Thursday to talk again about it because we will have seen New Mutants. But I think we'll have some different people with us on the 2 shows, a little mix and match. And the idea that by this time next week, this is crazy. We'll see if that actually comes to pass, but that's what it looks like at the moment. Anyway, if you want to tweet or post on Instagram or whatever and keep in touch with us about all of your New Mutants excitement, Michael, where do people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at I Hate Michael Shirley and Twitter at Michael X Shirley.
And Rachel, where do people find you?
Yeah.
You can find me on Twitter at Rach Goodman or on my author Instagram account at Rachel Radner Author.
And I like to keep it simple. You can just find me at Christian DMZ, Twitter and Instagram. And if you're watching this show, that means you're on the Blackcast YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Blackcast YouTube channel, and you will find all sorts of other shows that we do here. A final comment from Mike Keebaugh, a.k.a. a humble painter. This is the best time I have spent painting bathroom partitions ever. Thanks for the show. Thank you, Mike. He also pointed out that he's had a face mask for years because he's a professional painter. But anyway, we appreciate everybody who participated in the chat. We look forward to people who comment on the archive version, and we hope that everybody gets the chance to check out New Mutants, and we all get back together next week. We'll talk about it then. But then, as the great Stan Lee would say, Excelsior.